I don't know why this looks so yellow. I think this computer just doesn't have a good webcam. Oh! Welcome to Gay White Country Boy Ramble. Oh! I don't have any particular place that I want to go. So I usually have 3 days that I'm mostly off work, and those are the days where I do my life. And any socializing that I do, all of my chores, all of my planning and stuff, project work, it gets done there. And then Thursday through Sunday is pretty much just work. And then just, just like the side dishes to a work day, which is, showering and eating and stuff like that. So the thought that I had, there's been so much wind. Like the second half of today, the wind really started picking up. I don't know if it's raining hot or cold. I know in like a week from now it's gonna be kind of warm. It's gonna be like in the 50s and it's December. Oh. Oh, so it's my last day off before I go back to work. And I had left like 2 or 3 chores for myself for Wednesday evening. And then I got home and yeah, I think I just need to chillax. I think I just need to, rest and clear my head. So anyway, the thought that I had that made me think, oh, I should do a video, was sorry, I set up my string lights. You can see the string lights in the back. There's a different kind of string lights in front of me. And I was trying to think if there was a way for me to set up the computer so that I could have that in the background, but there's really not. But they like ebb and flow. It's nice. The thought that I had that made me think maybe I should do a video was specifically old dogs. 4 minutes. Okay, cool. I think it was high in time for me to do one of these videos apparently. I wonder if anyone will ever actually watch these. I enjoy making them. So I was specifically thinking about how... I was thinking about a few things. I was thinking about how, like, domestic dogs and cats are, they're just wondering at their sense of, the home life, the hierarchy of it, the social stuff among it, how they show up, what they think of me, our relationships individually. And I was thinking about some, like, meme that I'd read about, I don't know, I don't remember the meme. It was paralleling, like, humans getting older and showing signs of aging paralleled with, like, the time span of, like, a dog's life. And, how we watch them go through all their stages of life. And I'm a tree person, and I'm very aware that any trees that, I meditate with, they've been awake and alive and growing and doing stuff and learning, their little piece of the world, their little corner of the world. Usually, I don't know, like 30 to 200 years longer than I have. And so I'm always aware of that, and aware that, like, if it's a younger tree, I very much think about how younger as in, less than, like, 50, 60 years. I think about how they're going to live longer than me. And that I'm, a transient visitor to them. And I'm out living my life. And it's hard to empathize with your own mortality sometimes, but it's something that I think about. So I was thinking about, domestic pets and their awareness of their lifespan. Because if you've been around older dogs and cats, like, you can tell when they become kind of aware of their mortality. And there's, it might be more towards resignation, but, like, it might be more towards resignation than acceptance, but there's an acknowledgement. There's an understanding that they are experiencing the last stretch of their lives. You can tell when they get to that point, because they start living their lives a little bit differently, and then they start just like the way, because they're aware of all of their relationships in a new way. And there have been, but what I was thinking about specifically, I didn't have anywhere to go from it, but I was thinking specifically about one dog. And how just, like, when it's a family dog, if you're able to kind of tap into a little bit of their psyche and a little bit of their thought process, a little bit of their awareness of the space their life takes up and the attached meanings of it. Sorry. there is just a space and a heaviness and a sadness. If you get to know a family dog that's towards the end of its life, and by family dog, I mean it's the only dog in the house. Usually the only pet. And, like, these are usually, they're usually only pets for a reason. They might not realize that, but some pets are only pets because of them, because of how they are. And I'm thrilled that there are households that's perfect for, right? I realized that'd probably be too one-on-one for me because it's just me at home usually. So I like there being an ecosystem of, animals doing stuff and animals feeling some kind of way and, communicating with themselves, between themselves differently day to day, communicating with me differently day to day. And we're all in this ride together. Yeah. Yeah, you can come here. Okay. Nikita is not good at boundaries. And we've been working on ways that I can have my own physical boundaries while not participating in the dominator culture and mindset, because that absolutely does apply to how we interact with our animals, or with the animals in our lives. Alright. I'm going to send you on your way. Because she's got a shallow battery. With that amount of physical contact, if she got an ounce more, she'd be bouncing off the goddamn walls. We're still learning to temper that. She's like 7. Anyway. Just thinking through, because there's lots of stuff I could talk about, but I'm just... I wasn't sure what would happen if I turned this on. I was fine with whatever happened. I'm fine if I don't post this. But I think I like my gay white country boy rambles. I like how loose they are. I enjoy it from my aspect because sometimes... So booze just makes me verbal. It always has. I'm autistic and I struggle with being nonverbal at times. It's more of like a gear I shift in or out of. Because I know you're hearing me speak well enough. I'm clearly tired and a little inebriated. You're hearing me speak just fine. But I need to have nonverbal times. If not in my day, in my week, usually in my day too. Because I just need to be able to like turn that part of my mind and body off and be able to focus on other things. And I also like need to go into that space very intentionally. if I need to recover, like if I had a busy night at work where I was talking to a lot of people and I just need to not be doing that for a couple days. I'm starting to come against interacting and getting involved with people that I do care about, and like they're not self-educated in the ways that I'm self-educated, and ways that have been like actively evolving during the last 5 years, but then especially the last year, the last couple years. There's gradations of things you can find published online, of people just kind of diving more deeply and synthesizing in a new way, and then feeling like they need to share that. And it's, some of that has been very helpful to me because I've been going through that too. But I'm coming to a point that is expected, that was expected, that, I understand how carefully crafted everything that I do is, because I have broken down all of the societal training. Not all of it, a lot of it, most of it, a lot of it. And there's living the more spiritually oriented path 3 days a week, and then 4 days a week. There's, needing to be able to actively plug in and not just be tapping into old, easy, reliable ways of handling things, but needing to approach it in a new way, either because I'm male or because I want to honor that this is a new context, or but mostly just needing to actively participate in a transactional environment, which is what I don't want to do anymore. But I'm coming up against people who I know that I'm going to continue kind of fostering them in my life and having involved in my life. And there will be things that I learn and take away from that I could only have learned in that situation. And I know that there are things that I do intentionally or non-intentionally that lay seeds for other people, for how they view themselves and the world and their place in it and their relationship to everyone else. But I'm coming up to the point where I know where I'm coming from, and I know how highly developed it is, and I know how intricately organized and complex it is. I know how clearly I have a grasp on that. I know how clearly of a grasp I have at any given time, depending on how distracted I am by living in, the construct. I'll start calling it that. It's not an illusion, because it's very real. That's something that I disagree with a lot of like non-duality and like, the older Eastern stuff. I just don't have full history on. But there's some things that cross in the line of like You can't just say everything you see is illusory. It could, because what's illusory has to do with your relationships to what you see. What you see will still be here. What you see materially. But But I'm to a point where, a thought that I had today after spending an hour with someone who I think I'm destined to see out the end of their days. It's a friendship that I've had for a few years off and on. When I was in my 20s, I kind of sensed that I was supposed to be that person for them. That was supposed to be a part of my experience, and I shied away from it. Because I wasn't emotionally mature enough to really navigate that. And now I've come back, and that's still very much a present premonition about that relationship. And they're still very much learning me, and I'm very much learning them from where I am now. But there are elements of needing to hold space, needing to allow space for them to not understand, and knowing that I have laid everything that I could and will do everything as I can to kind of cultivate this in a fruitful way. And I think that's something that's really new to my development as a person, is just being able to identify that space and choose that space for myself. Think finally sending a message to someone who you have a lot of unresolved shit with. That's something that I've been doing lately. That takes a lot of space on the sender's part. That takes the time and space of even having the idea to reach out to that person and how do I need to make amends? Do I still think they need to make amends? What would I say now? And just taking the time to figure out what would I say now? And then you might finally have a clarity in that idea. And then it still might be months before you write the letter or write the message. I've had this happen during this last year especially. You have the idea for months, you finally write the letter, and then you don't send it for months because you still need to kind of make sure you're squared away on your end of things. And I've thought of all the possible ways that they might respond, whatever you need to do. That's how I need to do. I need to have thought through all the ways someone might respond, because that's what's, it's the unexpected setbacks that fuck you up the most. And I try to make sure that there won't be unexpected setbacks. So that's been a new thing for me, is just knowing when this is a situation that I need to create space and maintain that space and not, compromise that space, because that space needs to be there for them to enter that space and not understand. And I still need to be upholding that space and interacting with them in that space in a way that might be helpful to explain the space. And I don't know, because I feel like there's layers and layers of things that throughout my lifetime haven't been okay to talk about, or that we haven't had language to talk about. We didn't have language to talk about queerness. We didn't have language to talk about trans people when I was a kid or when I was growing up. You know, that was, ooh, I can't imagine. People who are actually, you know, transitioned. I recognize that's an entirely different life. I recognize that I have a much easier version. But I also recognize that once I started understanding that, like, part of that was, like, recognizing, like, that, you know, culturally, I'm not a white man. You know? Much more on par with a black man. I will never say that, you know, I'm on par in any way. Well, you know, not on par with, like, I wouldn't claim that space that the black man's experience takes up in this country, right? But I'm just saying, I came to a place where I recognized there were a lot of parallels, you know? I found out that, you know, black men are likely to ask for a bag and receipt for whatever they buy at the store when they walk out, so that they're not walking out with just like a fucking item, and that's just part of your fucking day. And I learned that around the same time that I was starting to visibly transition. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm starting to like... Being any kind of woman in this country has its own set of downfalls and ways that you can play the game, and, you know, no real inset ways of, like, how to keep your head up, how to keep your head above water. It's just a game. It's just... I'd say esoteric, but esoteric sounds like a good thing. Like, it sounds like a positive and blessed and, you know, lyrical, intelligent thing. But, like, it gets esoteric in creating layers upon layers, and it's like this inception thing, and that women participate in this country, and on a social level, and I participated in it off and on for a while myself, especially, like, well, yeah, and unfortunately, it's what I see trans women fall into, because they're met with the absoluteness of the situation, and then you look for a way to be. And it sucks that they end up finding it very compelling. At least, you know, the few of them that are in my life, they end up finding it very compelling to adopt just those really shitty, you know, layer upon layer of away from the reality and away from it's layer upon layer of just making rules on top of a fabricated reality, and then making rules within that. Once you made rules within that, you can make rules above that, around that. It's just not a good time. It's just not a good time for anyone involved. Even if you're making and setting and upholding and acting out the rules, like, it's not a good time because you're doing those things. And then if you're doing those things and there's anyone around you that isn't participating in, like, the same like and ilk and way, and in a way that doesn't compete with you, then, like, they're also not having a good time because they're like, what the fuck is this system that I'm stuck in? And, yeah. I can't help but think, but there is some reason for me to make this video tonight, and I feel like I will post it, even if it's just a gay white country boy ramble. It's a way of doing things. It's a way of having done. Style by Bukowski. I carry your heart. I carry your heart in my heart. E. Cummings. Stay regulated.